Okay, well, we only got one route, and these two are gonna be, the PI and Harue, the mother. Let's see, do I have anything to say about them? Not really. When the son of Harue Shigemo was kidnapped, the botched investigation by the police resulted in the child's murder. Botched investigation by the... 1 year later, Harue has hired a PI to help resolve the unsettled case. Late at night, while speaking to the detective at her home, something strange suddenly appears. Oh, 1 year later. Why the year gap? Okay, whatever, we'll figure that out. Let's just go, do it. Power of the curse stone, the haunting clappers. You can use it to kill those with a fire. Fire starting to splice on their person. Set things on fire. Fascinating start. Back with me, man. No. Needs more weathered coffee. I can't say I understand what just happened. But it certainly seems like to have you put in a good mood. This might be the first time I've ever seen you really smile. Sweet dream? Sweet dreams? Person of interest updated. Let's take a look at everything we got now. Harue Shigema, right. That's how you do it. I think. Hunting clappers. I think I'd nailed that. I mean, that was an easy one to get. A housewife who resides in a manor near Shumoku Bridge. Ah. Her 11-year-old son, Shuichi, was kidnapped and murdered about a year ago. The death was a result of a mistake on the part of the detective assigned to the case, a mistake which enraged the kidnapper and had him cut off all contact with the police, leaving no room for negotiation. The incident was covered up, and Shuichi's killer remains at large, leading the aggrieved Harue to call on the services of PI Richter Kai to uncover the truth. The Shigema family might be G. Came from the line of samurai who built their residence in Honjo during the Edo period. They assumed important positions in the police force following the Meiji Revolution, thereby protecting their family's elevated status. Even today, many in the Shigema line work as police bureaucrats and senior police officers. Harue's father sits in the upper echelons of the National Police Agency, and her husband, adopted by the Shigema clan through an arranged marriage, is also a highly respected agency official. However, as their family priorities work above all else, it wasn't long before Harue's marriage grew cold. Though she wants for nothing, she's isolated from her neighbors and withdrawn from society. Seeing her son grow into a young man gave Harue a purpose in life, but it was cut short by the kidnapping incident. Following the incident, Harue spent many days in deep depression, breaking into sudden fits of shouting and wandering around in the middle of the night. Her cheerful, loving disposition faded away, which she took to making snide remarks at her husband, which only further soured their relationship. A few months ago, Harue's husband was transferred to another area for work, and now rarely returns home, with Harue left to live in the large empty mansion alone. That sounds familiar, and I know it is familiar, but I don't know, it feels too obvious to connect those three dots together. As a housekeeper who has been with the family for a long time comes in to take care of all the housework, Harue has nothing but time in her hands. Okay, next up. Oh, hang on. File 7. Haunting clappers. Let's see. Kills one who is in possession of fire. Yes. And, well, of fire. And, yes, burning. Did I put in burning? I don't think I... Yeah, I put in burning. Okay, good. Red, red, red. Everything is dyed crimson. My home is burning to the ground. It's so hot. So hot. I must call for help, but I cannot speak. My throat must be burned up from the smoke. No, I think I'm already on fire. That's right, I'll just use the clappers. Click, clack, clack. Is anyone there? Clack, clack. Why is no one coming? I'm burned to death. I'm going to burn to death. How did it come to this? Oh, right, her. It must be the work of that vixen who appeared suddenly and enchanted my lord, that witch. Those hauntingly cold eyes had my lord dancing in the palm of her hand. Perhaps I was also taken in by her. How many innocent people did I lure in under orders? This must be karma. The sound of a heavy bell. It feels like my head will split open. Ah, right, the evening bell. That must be why no one could hear the sound of my clappers. I've got to do it louder. Clack, clack. Interesting how this one's told in first person. Yeah, the other ones were told in third. Interesting. But then again, this isn't somebody, I don't think. Do you have your clappers? I'm curious on what they look like. Okay. No. Not dreams. Sounds like something I might want. It sounds like something I might want to hear about. Okay, look around. Television. This should be an intriguing. A color television. Father brought one as soon as it hit the market. He likes to have the latest gadgets. Unlike the latest models, there's no remote control. We've had it for a long time. Back when it was new, we all gathered around it and marveled at it as a family. But with father and my husband being away so often, it quickly fell into disuse. One of the least intriguing things, but it's also intriguing that... Whoa, ooh, what are you? Well, I'll be. Is that what I think it is? Goodness, he made me jump. Just a silly little sticker my son got from somewhere or other. Put it up before, well, you know what happened. I still can't bring myself to take it down. Let me take a closer look. I knew it. It's Head Honjo from way back in set number 1. It's a real collector's item. Excuse me. Don't tell me you've never heard of the Mockingbirds? The what? The hottest new craze. Cute little birds dressed up like rough and tumble delinquents. Never heard of them, but this certainly seems to matter to you. Best part is, nobody knows who made them. Just started showing up around town, and soon enough, they'd won everyone's hearts. Story goes that they're made by some anonymous artist who covertly leaves them behind in specific locations. No one knows when or where they'll show up next. They're basically an urban legend of sorts. To think one would show up here of all places is a good sign, I'm sure of it. Oh, well, that's nice. Mockingbird. Ooh, achievement 2. Mockingbird number 1 discovered. What's this all about? Okay, that is 3, 6, 9, 10, 20. Okay, Head Honjo, approach the net. Popular mascot birds and stickers seem to pop up everywhere. No one knows who the legendary artist is behind these quirky birds, but quickly became popular for their surreal yet oddly cute designs. Be in the right place at the right time in Honjo, and you might just be able to find all 20 of them scattered around. Legend has it collecting them will bring good luck. Now, collectibles was something I did not expect, and I'm wondering it's just if it's just this storyline or if it's anyone else. Seeing that it showed up in player gameplay guide, probably, probably everyone. My heart's still racing. This is it. My chance at long last. It's hard to play the melancholy of a mother with a departed son. Stereo unit with separated speakers designed for home use. My husband insisted on buying one even though he isn't one to listen to music often. An arrangement of flowers. We'd bring in someone to do it. I don't even know what the flowers are called. An old hanging scroll. Don't know who painted it. It's been hanging here since I was born. Okay, ooh, a fax machine and a rotary phone. We got a double combo here. The telephone. This mansion has a private line. Fax machine, you could send images to other places along the telephone network. Don't really know how it works. Most houses don't have one. I rarely find a use for it. The swinging of the pendulum echoes through the room. Feels livelier than usual with Richter here. Usually it's just me. It's also hard doing, stage voice with quiet and calm. Richter Kai. Private investigator that I hired. Friend told me about him. They say he's not very well known, but he's good at what he does. When I first visited his office in Noda City and saw how he dressed, I could hardly believe he is a detective. Yeehaw. After talking to him for a while, I changed my mind. He says some strange things at times, but he seems like the reliable sort. Richter Kai. Oh wow, that is exciting. Cedric, man, the Chogyo. Yep. Sector PI with an office in Noda City, Tokyo, after taking a request from Harue Shigema to investigate the unsolved kidnapping and murder of her son. He gets caught up in the events surrounding the Rite of Resurrection. No curse echo. Good to know. Once a police officer, Richter was racked with guilt over the police's inability to help all those in need and quit the force to start his own private investigation firm. However, his soft-hearted nature leads him to take on too many cases and has put his office in dire financial straits. How he's still in business is a mystery. One of the 7, actually, with some whispering that a wealthy patron is keeping him afloat. Richter studied alongside Detective Junerio at the police academy. Somewhat surprisingly, given his outlandish clothing and mannerism, Richter excels at covert investigation and tailing his targets. He proudly refers to himself as an investigator extraordinaire, though that only ever exceeds at impressing himself. Richter's biggest source of happiness is nuzzling his pet female albino parakeet, Ernestine. Ooh, good name. Which he keeps in his office. He also enjoys collecting mockingbird stickers, a popular line of merchandise featuring birds inexplicably dressed like delinquents. It can be frequently sighted searching around town for them. Oh, buddy. While out and about, Richter typically leaves the office, and more importantly, Ernestine, in the care of Amamori. Junior high schooler who volunteered to assist Richter after being involved in a previous case. Is Amamori the... Nope, never mind. Okay. Oh, now Azure Heron Agency. Richter Kai's PIF. I've never heard PIF firm in Kamata, Ota City. Originally, Kai thought to give it a simple name like Kai's Detective Agency, but upon hearing that people are more likely to pick names listed on the front of the phone book alphabetically, very good, very, very good, he decided to pick a name starting with A. Granted, you chose AZ, which, you know, kind of, thus the Azure Heron Agency was established. However, it's questionable whether the heron, a bird of somewhat ominous significance, is an effective signal for attracting customers. Even his own assistant was referred to the name as confusing at best. After all, rather than an azure heron, Richter keeps a white parrot as a pet and dresses not in blue, but mostly in white. If there had been a symbolic connection to be made here, it had surely been lost on all but Richter himself. Oh, I love this guy already. A private investigator known as a PI, wait, private eye. Oh, yeah, is a detective who operates their own agency, although there are no formal qualifications necessary to become a PI. Many are retired police agents or detectives due to the similarities between the work involved. At a glance, police investigation firms and inquiry offices might look similar, but they carry out different types of investigations. Inquiry offices specialize in conducting credit checks on business, while PIs are generally involved in tailing persons of interest and gaining information surreptitiously. Very, very nice. Want to know more about Richter? Apparently he's good. Let me bring you up to speed. We're in the middle of a chat when you suddenly start spacing out. The whole time you're just grinning to yourself like you'd won the lottery. Care to tell me what that was all about? Well, where to start? Interesting, very interesting. So the haunting clapper's curse echo appeared out of nowhere. Told you how to perform the rite of resurrection and gave you the curse you need to do it. Have I got that right? That's right. So it's all real. Honestly, I still find it hard to believe. But I guess I have to now. I see, those are clappers, so you just click-clack them against each other. I saw that curse stone appear in your hand myself. Looked like it popped clean out of thin air. With evidence that clear, there's no denying that there's some supernatural force at work. Okay, his shtick is elongation. I don't think you quite understand. Oh? This isn't about evidence, and it isn't about belief. It's more than that. I know it's real. The moment the curse appeared, I knew everything before it even said a word. It was already there in my head, as clear as day. You just knew, huh? It was etched into my soul, along with the curse echo's resentful memories. So, I could feel it, what it was like. Dying like they did hundreds of years ago. Wreathed in flame, writhing in pain as my flesh blackens and my blood boils. I could feel it. All the agony, all the rage. It fills me with bloodlust. I think I need to kill someone. Anyone will do, just as long as they're carrying fire. I see? That could be a problem. You think so? From what I know of you, I was sure you'd see it as an opportunity. Stronger the desire to resurrect someone, the stronger the urge to kill. That's how it seems to me, anyway. Good grief, talk about a spanner in the works. I say we take stock for a moment, remind ourselves where we come from and where we're going. That might be a good idea. Let's go. About the investigation. That's what you hired me for, ma'am. To look into your son's kidnapping last year. To uncover the truth behind the abduction and murder of Shuichi Shigema. Feels like it's G, but I'm so used to being it Gi. You'd probably put a J there if it was G. Oh, yes. I remember. They never did find the one who did it. That's why I'm here today, in fact. Kind of you to let me drop by so late, by the way. I've been turning over every last stone, and I've come up with a grand total of... 1 lead. Oh, you said. As far as the police are concerned, it's a cold case, but I've managed to make some headway. I remembered. You were just about to tell me. The Shigema kidnapping overview. Kidnapping murder case that took place in Honjo, Sumida around 1 year ago. Harue Shigema's son, Shuichi, age 11, was kidnapped on his way home from school, with a ransom being demanded at that same evening. Initially, the kidnapping was thought of as a simple extortion scheme, but when it came to light that the Shigema family was closely tied to the police and Shuichi was in fact the grandson of a senior official, it was quickly assumed that the perpetrator was acting upon a grudge against the police force. The kidnapping was treated like a direct attack against the good name of the police, and a large-scale investigation was launched that used the best equipment available to trace phone calls. This made it all the more embarrassing when they were unable to catch the culprit, losing the public's confidence. The culprit grew cocky, relentlessly mocking the police force. After 3 days of failure after failure, Harue had reached a breaking point. Spurred by concern for her son, she resolved to hand over the ransom money as fast as possible. Wait, 3 days? Oh, I guess they extended it. Wait, ransom demanded that same evening. Okay. Resolved to hand over the ransom money as fast as possible, but her husband and father, who held the prestige of the police in high regard, refused, saying that they would not let the criminal win by giving in to their demands. The increasingly frantic detective assigned to the case lost his temper when the criminal called to give him an ultimatum, causing the culprit to never make contact again. Another week passed and Shuichi's body was found floating in the Sumida River. Shuichi's death could be largely ascribed to the police's incompetence, but this is ultimately covered up with stringent media embargoes. The investigation was never closed, but the case was long gone cold. It's a nice little guy. Only son of Harue Shigema, he was kidnapped and murdered 1 year ago. His body was discovered floating in the Sumida River. He was a conscientious, brave young boy who was determined to protect his mother Harue amid his father's frequent absences. He dreamed of becoming a police officer and placed diligence and an impressive sense of responsibility from a young age, likely due to being raised in an extremely strict environment. Born in the early 70s, he spent his days immersed in various activities and studies, including playing piano, learning the abacus, taking English lessons, and training in kendo. Learning the abacus. No. Shuichi's tendency to put other people's needs over his own meant he died without ever telling his classmates how long he longed for them to all go out on a hunt for mockingbird stickers. Oh. Keep going. About the investigation. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Tell you what, why don't I tell you what I found and then we can make a decision? Alright. Starting to sound like June now. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Okay, decisions. About the kidnapping. I suppose there's not much point going over the kidnapping itself. No, I'm very familiar. And I'll leave that for the files to cover and just confirm a few things about the case. Police trace the culprit's calls back to, let's see here, Northern Oyoko River, here in Sumida City. That's quite a wide area. That's right. In the end, they never managed to nail down exactly where the calls were coming from. But it was most certainly the same location that Shuichi was being held captive. Since Shuichi's voice could be heard during the killer's calls. Northern Oyoko River is quite a distance from Shuichi's normal school commute. Factoring in that he was seen at school, but went missing before he arrived at his house, it's likely he was abducted by car on his route home. Maybe, but exactly, Shuichi was a clever boy. He never would have gotten into a car with a stranger. That's right. I was very firm about that. I know he understood too. I even saw him warning the other children. It's possible they forced him into the car. The only issue is there aren't any witnesses to the kidnapping. You can't bundle someone into a car with that many students and not be noticed. But someone came forward and but nobody came forward to say they saw anything suspicious. So, did they target him at some other time or somewhere away from his usual route? Both of these seem a little far-fetched. Which raises the question, how did the kidnapper pull it off? Police never managed to find an answer. In the end, they decide that the kidnapper must have gotten lucky. Well, why not turn the problem on its head? Turn the problem on its head, so that could be taken a few ways. The kidnapper managed to convince Shuichi to get into their car, but how? The only thing that makes sense to me is if they were somebody he would have at least a reason to trust. A teacher, perhaps, or a relative, or somebody else that he knew. But all the adults Shuichi knew had alibis. The police checked them all thoroughly. They did, huh? No one throws numbers at a problem like the cops. But what if it wasn't someone he knew, or rather, something? What if the culprit disguised themselves as a police officer? That would explain why he wouldn't find them suspicious. The Shigima family had close ties with the police after all. You would have had a reason to trust them. You might be right. But surely they couldn't have... Well, there's a problem with the theory. You'd be surprised how much police officers stand out. That's sort of the point after all. They're meant to be a visible deterrent against crime. I'm sorry, Richter. You've changed a lot. But here's another interesting bit of trivia I happen to know. When you ask people to imagine someone suspicious, nobody pictures women or children. Even kids who've been warned about stranger danger often subconsciously expect that danger to look like an adult man. Besides, Shuichi was the sort of boy who wanted to be a police officer when he grew up. He must have had a very strong sense of right and wrong. That's right. Wait, surely you can't mean... Now you're getting it. If, say, a young woman approached Shuichi asking for help, what would he have done? If someone like that said they're lost and asked him for directions, would he have gotten into a car? He might have. My husband always told him that a man had a duty to watch out for women and children. You could certainly argue that kind of attitude is outdated nowadays, but if Shuichi believed it, then we might have something here. Then you think a culprit was a young woman? But it was a man's voice on the phone. He might have had an accomplice, or maybe she didn't even realize she was being used. If anything, that would explain why she hasn't come forward. She herself might not have realized she had anything to do with the case. Interesting leads. So, the question is, did anyone see Shuichi speaking with a young woman on the day of his disappearance? See, that's what I said about people's biases. That goes for witnesses too. And I figured that maybe if I start asking new questions, I might get some new answers. So I spent my day asking around Shuichi's school route, seeing if anyone had seen something. And one man thought he had. Do you mean he saw it happen? Well, I can't say for sure yet. It turned out he wanted something from me, so he asked if we could talk in private. Alright, this should do. No one around, we could speak in confidence. Excuse me, what's your name again? You. Jonuichi. Didn't think he'd be an important character. Got it, well, Jonuichi? Jonouchi. Jonouchi. Just so we're on the same page. You're a private detective investigating Shuichi Shigima's kidnapping. Do I have that right? Of course. Of course. What else do I look like? Don't answer that. How should I know what a private detective looks like? Go forget it. Look, I'll tell you straight. My life is in danger. I need your help. You'll excuse me if that caught me a little off guard. Let me ask you straight. Who's trying to kill you? A student called Michio Saraishi. Interesting. A schoolgirl, eh? Sounds like you've been naughty. It's nothing like that. That girl, she's a murderer. I'm the only one who knows, but I saw what she did. Michio Saraishi. I saw her kidnap Shuichi Shigima. Come again? I saw her talk to him on the street, led him away. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then he went missing. She murdered him, I'm sure of that, or at least she's got something to do with it. That's what you're here for, isn't it? And you can't let her get to me. That's true, you've been sitting on some valuable information. Why don't you tell anybody? Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, you see, I can't explain it. If you can't explain that, I don't have any reason to believe you. I couldn't. She told me she'd kill me if I spoke a word. You're telling me a schoolgirl had you scared for your life. So you've been sitting on that all this time, and you think she's coming for you now that you spilled the beans. Yes, that's it, exactly. I'm begging you, don't let her get me. Arrest her, I'm telling you, she's a demon. Well, you seem to believe what you're saying. But it just doesn't add up. How could a schoolgirl have a fully grown man so terrified? You don't know what she could do. She'll curse me. Curse you? I'm sorry, but you're losing me there. It's true, her house, it's... Nah, forget it, why do I even bother? You seem dubious enough to believe me, but I should have known you'd never understand. Enough, I'll find someone else to help me. Hey. Oh. And that's about the long and short of it. I could hardly believe it. At the time, I thought his mention of curses was just crazy talk. But I'm starting to see there might have been more to it. Then, if we could just find that girl. Curse or no curse, if she was with Shuichi on the day of the kidnapping, there's a good chance she knows something. On top of that, I did some digging on the man I spoke to. Full name's Kohei Jonoichi. He's a teacher at Komagata High here in Sumida. A teacher? Then the schoolgirl is one of his students? I think that's very likely. Keep pressing. At last, we've got a lead. Hopefully it'll be the breakthrough we're looking for. Rite of Resurrection. The Rite of Resurrection, huh? I read about that in a cult magazine the other day. Apparently some old book showed up recently with all of the gory details. And they say that the rite can be found somewhere in Honjo. I remember the first time you told me about that. It felt like my prayers had been heard. Like I had hope, real hope for the first time. Ever since that awful day, I wondered, what if I hadn't sent him to school? What if I just paid the ransom? Not a day goes by when I don't think I'd done something here differently. Shuichi would still be alive. Can't blame yourself, ma'am. It was the culprit's fault, not yours. Though I know that won't help any. Grief is funny like that. I'm guessing that's why you're after the right? Guess I didn't need to ask. It's written all over your face. I could tell how much he meant to you. But, and there's a big but, the right's the real deal. Using it will mean killing someone and stealing their soul. And you... that a problem? If it comes to that, I'm afraid I'll have to stop you. No, that's a shame. Shame, huh? That's all? I thought, if I'm gonna be competing with other curse bearers, then your detective skills might come in useful. You realize you're talking about ending someone's life, right? You don't see an issue with that? I think any parent in my position would happily kill for a chance like this. That's so, is it? Dear oh dear, what have I gotten myself into? Alright, resurrection. That makes you uncomfortable. Then you won't have to get any blood on your hands yourself. I don't need you to kill the other curse bearers. I only need you to find them. I won't be party to murder, ma'am. Not even for a client. I mean, he seems like he's afloat, so that's a shame. I see. I didn't realize you were so stubborn. Let me say, though, it's not like I don't get what you're going through. As long as you're not killing anyone with your own hands, maybe I could help you out. As long as you're not killing anyone with your own hands. What do you have in mind? Well, how about stealing someone else's curse stone after they filled it with soul dregs? Oh, so murder's not an issue, but theft is. Oh dear. If that was all you were after, then I could lend you my services guilt-free. The other curse bearers want to kill each other, that's their business. I'm not trying to be the hero here. I guess there's no guarantee a stolen curse stone will work, but we could worry about that later. Well then, I suppose we have a deal. Although, what if I stole a curse stone using my curse? Would you disapprove? I would void our contract, ma'am. Just warning you now. My. Or just my. About my curse. Before we go any further, why don't you tell me about that curse of yours? Haunting clappers, was it? That's one of the 7 mysteries of Honjo, if I remember correctly. That's right. The original story did happen somewhere near here, I think. I'm not sure. I remember hearing that. In that case, my money would be on all the curse bearers being somewhere in Honjo. First move should be to narrow them down. Some of them are bound to try to come for you first. We need to be ready. The curses make their bearers more willing to kill, so an attack could come from anywhere. Did we just tell them all this? Don't remember. Sounds sensible. And if I remember correctly, your haunting clappers can set people on fire, but only if they have a naked flame or a lighter on their person. Is that right? That's right. In olden times, when clappers were used to warn people of fire, I'm guessing it punishes those who don't heed the warning. Seems like a good curse to have. It's simple and straightforward enough to use. Hard to pull off, though. Though it's hard to say how it stacks without knowing what else is on the table. You really think it's that good? Target can't do much to throw it off, and it has a nice long activation window. It's big. It's big that it works on lighters too. Just slip one in your target's pocket. And say the conditions were already fulfilled before they even knew you're there. You wouldn't even know what hit them. It's exactly what you did with Okie. Maybe I won't have to actually use it. I could just tell someone I could, and I'd have to do what I said. Threats could work, although without any proof it'll come down to how convincing you could be. If only you could use the curse and back out at the last second. At the last second? What an interesting idea. I have a lighter right here. We could try it now. Oh dear. That's an interesting proposition. But maybe not. I'm not crazy enough to make myself a guinea pig. No, I see. Oh no. What are we dealing with? You're an odd one, ma'am, if you don't mind me saying. And I don't think it's just the curse. You flatterer. Well, someone with nothing to lose. As for what we do next, first of all, I think you should stay indoors. Try not to do anything spontaneous or outside your normal routine. Investigation. Right then, have you decided on what you want me working on? Ooh, well, if I'm gonna be staying indoors, better investigate the kidnapping. Wait, he was at the bridge when we met him. Finally, I have a lead. I need to know what happened to my son. Your wish is my command, man. I'll focus all my efforts into looking into the kidnapping. Although, something just occurred to me. You can't investigate the matter at night, can you? At least until the sun rises. Could you search for the other curse bearers? Yeah, alright, I see how it is. Well, I'd be happy to help. Odds are good that the other curse bearers are also working by night. Others. Anyone they kill under the cover of darkness won't be discovered until sunrise. I bet they're trying to do as much as they can before morning comes. Oh, it's settled then. I'll look into the other curse bearers by night. And once the city wakes up and I can start asking questions, I'll investigate the kidnapping as well. And I never sleep. I'll even try to find Miss Saraishi as part of the bargain. Thank you. That's more than enough. Very good. Team break. Now then. I should get to work. There's only so much time before sunrise. I'll call you if I find out anything new. You stay here and keep a lookout. Alright. There's no telling what kinds of curses you might find out on the streets tonight. Don't go outside if you can help it. Try to be ready for anything. I will. Well, if that's all, I should be going. Oh no. Yeah, I don't think she's staying inside.